Listen to this. The day you decide to grow is not the day your life becomes easy, and it is not the day every fear disappears. It is the day you stop waiting for perfect conditions and begin honoring the truth already waking inside you. Your heart has been asking for more than comfort. It has been asking for honesty, for courage, for a life that feels alive from the inside. That question is not a burden. It is a blessing. It means something in you is ready to rise. Breathe with me for a moment. Growth does not always arrive like a bright sunrise. Sometimes it begins as a quiet refusal to stay the same. Sometimes it looks like one small boundary, one truthful sentence, one changed habit, one deep breath before reacting. You may think nothing dramatic is happening, but the most meaningful changes often start in silence. The Creator has placed in you a capacity to become wiser, steadier, and more peaceful than you were yesterday. That capacity is still there, even if it feels buried under noise. Remember this truth. Growing is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more fully yourself. Not the version shaped by fear. Not the version shaped by approval. Not the version that shrinks to keep others comfortable. You are meant to become the version that speaks clearly, loves wisely, rests honestly, and stands firm without becoming hard. That kind of growth takes patience because your soul is learning to breathe in a new way. But patience is not delay. It is preparation. It is the gentle work of becoming strong enough to hold what matters. You may have noticed that the moment you choose growth, resistance appears. Old habits whisper that change is unnecessary. Old fears insist that staying small is safer. Old disappointments remind you of times you tried and felt hurt. Listen to this. Resistance does not mean you are wrong. It often means you are touching a place that can transform your life. The part of you that wants to stay comfortable may feel loud, but it is not wiser than the part of you that wants freedom. Freedom rarely begins with ease. It begins with truth. There is something sacred about the first honest step. It might be admitting you are tired of repeating the same pattern. It might be saying no to what drains you. It might be saying yes to rest, yes to learning, yes to healing, yes to asking for help. None of these choices are small in the quiet kingdom of the soul. They are openings. They are signals to your spirit that your life is not meant to circle the same mountain forever. The day you decide to grow is the day you stop living only by habit and begin living by intention. Breathe with me for a moment. You do not need to know the whole path before you take the first step. You only need enough light for the next choice. Growth often asks for trust before proof. That can feel uncomfortable because your mind likes maps and your heart likes safety. But safe does not always mean alive. Sometimes the safest looking place is where your spirit slowly goes numb. Growth brings you back to life. It wakes your inner self. It reminds you that you were not made merely to endure. You were made to expand, to deepen, to become. The hardest part of growth is often not the change itself. It is the letting go of old identities. Letting go of the story that says you can only be this one way. Letting go of the fear that if you become more, you might lose belonging. But listen to this. Belonging that requires you to shrink is not true belonging. Love that asks you to betray your own soul is not love that can hold you well. When you grow, some spaces will no longer fit you. That is not failure. That is proof of expansion. You may have spent too long trying to stay acceptable instead of becoming whole. Acceptable is a small room. Whole is a living field. Acceptable can keep you safe from criticism. Whole can bring peace to your bones. Acceptable may please people for a season. Whole will sustain you through the years. The day you decide to grow is the day you begin choosing wholeness over approval. That choice is brave. It may be lonely at times, but it is also deeply freeing. A heart that is no longer divided becomes easier to trust, easier to love, easier to live with. Remember this truth. Growth is not always visible at first. Roots deepen before fruit appears. A tree does not announce every inch of its hidden development. In the same way, your inner shifts may be happening long before the outer world notices. You may be learning to pause instead of react, to listen instead of defend, to reflect instead of escape. Those quiet changes matter. They are not invisible to your future. They are the architecture of a stronger life. So do not dismiss the small victories. A calmer response, a softer heart, a more honest boundary. These are signs that growth has begun. The day you decide to grow may feel ordinary from the outside. You might wake up, make your coffee, answer messages, go to work, and still carry the quiet knowing that something has changed. That is often how transformation enters. It does not always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes as a shift in posture. Your shoulders relax. Your mind becomes less defensive. Your spirit becomes more willing to learn. That willingness is powerful. It tells the universe you're no longer asking only to be comforted. You are ready to be formed. And being formed is how lasting peace begins. Listen to this. There is a difference between change and growth. Change can happen without depth. Growth always reaches inward. Change can be forced. Growth must be nurtured. Change can be cosmetic. Growth is often costly because it asks for honesty, humility, and time. But what growth gives back is richer than what it asks. It gives you steadier footing. It gives you clearer sight. It gives you a stronger sense of self. It gives you the ability to stay open without being naive. It gives you a life that feels less fragmented and more aligned with what truly matters. You may have been taught to fear growth because growth can expose what needs attention. That exposure can feel uncomfortable, but it is a kindness. A wound hidden in darkness cannot heal well. A habit never examined cannot be transformed. A fear never named cannot be softened. The day you decide to grow is the day you allow truth to enter the room. And truth, when met with gentleness, becomes a healer. It does not humiliate. It reveals. It does not crush. It clears space. It does not punish. It invites you into a more honest and peaceful way of living. The Creator has placed in you a hunger for meaning, and that hunger is one of the surest signs that you are ready to rise. You are not content with mere survival anymore. You want your life to carry purpose, warmth, and integrity. That longing is not too much. It is a compass. It is pointing you toward the next season. You do not need to know every detail of that season to begin preparing for it. Preparation often looks like choosing what strengthens your spirit today. Rest, reflection, honest conversation, wise boundaries, quiet courage. These are all forms of growth. Breathe with me for a moment. You're allowed to outgrow what once felt enough. You're allowed to notice that old coping strategies no longer serve you. You're allowed to admit that what kept you going may not be what keeps you well. That realization can stir grief, because every release contains a little sadness. But sadness is not a sign that you're making the wrong choice. It is often the sound of something familiar being honored as it leaves. Thank it, learn from it, then keep walking. Growth requires reverence for the past and courage for the future. There will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel fragile. Both belong to growth. Strength that never trembles is not human. Fragility that never stands is not the whole story either. You're learning balance. You're learning how to be steady without being rigid, soft without being shapeless, open without being exposed in the wrong way. That balance is wisdom. It develops as you pay attention to what drains you and what restores you. It develops as you choose honesty over denial. It develops as you trust that becoming takes time, and time is not your enemy. Listen to this. The day you decide to grow is also the day you stop negotiating with what keeps you small. Smallness can wear many disguises. It can look like self-doubt. It can look like procrastination. It can look like over-explaining. It can look like hiding your gifts so no one expects too much. It can look like tolerating what hurts because it feels easier than changing. But your spirit knows the difference between ease and peace. Ease can be temporary. Peace is deeper. Peace often asks you to make a hard choice now, so your future can breathe later. You do not have to become fearless to grow. Fearless is not the goal. Faithful is. Faithful to your values. Faithful to your healing. Faithful to the quiet wisdom that says your life deserves care. You can be afraid and still take the step. You can feel uncertain and still choose honestly. You can tremble and still move forward. That is not weakness. That is courage with a pulse. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is fear no longer having the final word. The day you decide to grow is the day fear loses its title. There's a beautiful simplicity in choosing one better thing, one better conversation, one better habit, one better boundary, one better response, one better hour. Growth is often built on one better thing repeated over time. You may want dramatic transformation, but steady transformation is what lasts. It grows quietly and solidly. It changes the way you sleep, the way you speak, the way you work, the way you rest, the way you trust. When one better thing is repeated with patience, it creates a new path in your soul. That path becomes easier to walk, and it begins to feel like home. Remember this truth. The day you decide to grow is not the day you arrive. It is the day you begin to stop abandoning yourself. That means you start listening to your own needs with more care. You start honoring your limits before exhaustion forces them on you. You start treating your heart like it matters. Many people stay stuck because they keep waiting for life to change before they change their responses. But the inside can move first. The inside can lead. The inside can shift the whole direction of the life you're building. The Creator has not put you here to remain half awake. There is more clarity available to you than confusion would have you believe. There is more peace available to you than old patterns have allowed. There is more strength available to you than your current self-assessment can measure. The day you decide to grow opens a door to those possibilities. It does not guarantee a perfect path, but does invite a truer one. A truer path may have challenges, but it also has alignment. And alignment is a gift your spirit recognizes almost immediately. You may notice that growth asks for gentleness, not harsh self-criticism, not shame, not contempt for where you have been. Those things do not produce lasting change. Gentleness does. Gentle honesty, gentle accountability, gentle patience, gentle persistence. These are the tools of real transformation. When you speak to yourself with respect, you create room for learning. When you correct yourself with compassion, you become easier to guide. When you allow room for imperfection, you make growth sustainable. The day you decide to grow is the day you begin treating your own soul with more dignity. Listen to this. There is no honor in staying stuck just because staying stuck is familiar. Familiar pain can feel like identity, but it is not identity. You are more than the patterns you inherited. You are more than the reactions you practiced. You are more than the fears that once protected you. Growth is the process of remembering that you can choose differently now. That remembrance is powerful. It loosens old bonds. It opens windows. It freshens the air inside your spirit. You do not need to force a dramatic reinvention. You only need the willingness to start. The day you decide to grow may begin with a single question. What is true for me now? That question cuts through noise. It asks whether your current way of living is still supporting your peace. It asks whether your commitments still reflect your values. It asks whether your habits are serving your future or sabotaging it. Honest questions are sometimes the beginning of change. They shine light into places where your heart has been guessing too long. And once the truth becomes clearer, your next step becomes lighter. Clarity is not always comfortable, but it is kind. Breathe with me for a moment. You do not have to do this perfectly. You do not have to become someone else overnight. Growth is not a test you pass once. It is a way of living. It is a quiet returning. Again and again, you return to what is true. Again and again, you return to what restores. Again and again, you return to the deeper self that is learning how to live with steadiness. That return is holy in its own way. It says you are willing to keep becoming. And willingness is where transformation begins. Sometimes the strongest sign that you're growing is that what once felt tolerable now feels impossible to ignore. You may no longer be able to brush off what disturbs your peace. You may no longer be able to stay silent where your heart needs honesty. You may no longer be able to keep up the old pace that leaves you empty. That discomfort is not failure. It is a signal. It means your inner life is becoming more sensitive to truth. Sensitivity is not weakness when it is guided by wisdom. It is one of the signs of awakening. You may wonder whether growth will cost you too much. It may cost you some false comfort. It may cost you some approval. It may cost you some familiar excuses. But what it gives back is far greater. It gives you a life less divided. It gives you a conscience less burdened. It gives you relationships that have a chance to be real. It gives you work that can be done with integrity. It gives you the rare and beautiful feeling of being at home in yourself. That is worth the cost. That is worth the effort. That is worth every brave step. Listen to this. The day you decide to grow is also the day you become more available to peace. Not shallow peace. Not performance peace. Real peace. The kind that can sit beside uncertainty without panicking. The kind that can acknowledge pain without drowning in it. The kind that can be present without pretending. That peace does not come from having everything under control. It comes from living more truthfully. The more truthful your life becomes, the less energy you spend pretending, and the more room you have for calm, for clarity, for kindness, for rest. There's a reason your heart responds when it hears about growth. It recognizes home. It knows that being formed is not a punishment. It is a path back to wholeness. Even if the path feels steep sometimes, it is still a path toward life. You may need to let go of some old promises that never protected you. You may need to forgive yourself for the years spent surviving instead of thriving. Then you can begin again with cleaner hands and a softer heart. Begin where you are. Begin honestly. Begin with the next true choice. The Creator has already placed within you enough for this season. Enough courage for the next step. Enough patience for the next lesson. Enough clarity to recognize what matters. Enough strength to say yes to growth when growth asks to be heard. You do not have to manufacture everything from scratch. You only need to cooperate with what is already awakening in you. That cooperation may look small. It may look like journaling, resting, praying, saying no, asking questions, or stepping away from what drains you. Small steps, taken sincerely, become mighty over time. Remember this truth. Growth is not a punishment for failing. It is a gift for living. It means you are still open, still learning, still becoming. It means your story is not locked. It can change, deepen, and brighten in ways you have not yet seen. So do not fear the day you decide to grow. Welcome it. Honor it. Let it be the turning point where your life begins to reflect your deepest values more clearly. The journey may ask much of you, but it will also give much back. And what it gives is peace that lasts. Take one quiet breath now and ask yourself what growth is asking of you today. Maybe it is honesty. Maybe it is rest. Maybe it is a conversation. Maybe it is a boundary. Maybe it is forgiveness. Maybe it is patience with your own process. Whatever it is, begin gently. Let your steps be real. Let your heart be open. Let your spirit feel the dignity of becoming. Hold this moment with care and let it settle in you like a calm light. The next honest step is enough for today, and the road will meet you there again. Growth is rarely gentle with old habits. It asks questions your comfort avoids. It asks you to notice where energy leaks, attention scatters, and your spirit settles for less than it needs. That looking is not punishment. It is mercy. When you see clearly, you can choose differently. When you choose differently, your days begin to reflect a deeper order. Even the smallest honest shift can change the tone of an entire week. That is why this moment matters. It is quietly shaping the future you will later call your own. You may feel your progress is too slow to matter, but slow progress is still progress. A seed does not resent the soil for taking time. It simply keeps becoming. In the same way, your growth is not measured only by speed. It is measured by direction. Are you moving toward truth? Are you moving toward peace? Are you moving toward a more honest life? Those questions matter more than appearances. Keep going even if the steps are small. Small steps taken with sincerity can carry you farther than dramatic bursts that never last. Listen to this. Your future does not need a louder promise from you. It needs a truer one. Promise yourself that you will keep noticing what drains you. Promise yourself that you will stop calling exhaustion normal. Promise yourself that you will not abandon your own heart just to keep others comfortable. Promise yourself that you will learn, even slowly, how to live in alignment. These promises are not heavy chains. They're supportive rails. They help you cross the bridge without falling back into old patterns. They keep you steady while you learn a new way. There will be days when your mind tries to bargain with the old life. It will say that comfort is enough, that change can wait, that the familiar is safer. But your soul knows better. Your soul has seen enough to understand that what feels safe in the moment may quietly cost you too much later. That is why courage is so important. Courage does not shout. Courage simply keeps choosing what is true. It keeps choosing what heals. It keeps choosing what lasts. Every time you do that, you teach your life to trust a better path. Remember this truth. The day you decide to grow is not only about becoming better. It is also about becoming freer. Freer from old approvals. Freer from borrowed opinions. Freer from patterns you never chose, but kept repeating anyway. Freedom may arrive in quiet forms at first. It may look like a clearer no, a calmer yes, a softer response, a better sleep, a less tangled mind. Do not underestimate these signs. They are evidence that your inner world is changing. And when the inner world changes, the outer world begins to respond in kind. The Creator has not withheld what you need to begin. The courage is already there, even if it is small. The wisdom is already there, even if it is still growing. The sensitivity is already there, even if it makes you feel more aware than before. These are not weaknesses. They are tools. They help you recognize what belongs in your life and what is not. They help you protect your peace without becoming hard. They help you love what is good with greater honesty. Use them gently. Use them often. They are part of your becoming. You do not need to fear becoming more aware. Awareness can feel uncomfortable because it shows you where things are off. But awareness is a friend. It does not exist to shame you. It exists to help you live with less confusion. When you notice what hurts, you can tend to it. When you notice what is misaligned, you can adjust. When you notice what supports your soul, you can keep it close. Awareness is the beginning of wise stewardship. It helps you care for your time, your energy, your words, and your heart with more intention. Breathe with me for a moment. There is a version of your life that feels less rushed, less divided, and more truthful. It is not fantasy. It is possible. It begins when you decide that your peace is worth protecting. It begins when you decide that your inner health matters as much as your outward progress. It begins when you stop treating yourself like an afterthought. Your life does not need more pressure. It needs more honesty, more care, more alignment, more rest. Those things may seem simple, but they're the foundations of lasting strength. So take this day seriously, but not harshly. Take it as an invitation. Let it invite you into better habits, better boundaries, better self-respect, better attention. Let it invite you to become the person who can live with open hands and a calm mind. The day you decide to grow is the day you stop arguing with your own deeper knowing. That deeper knowing has been waiting patiently. It has not stopped believing in you. It is still there, calling you toward a life that feels cleaner, kinder, and more whole. Answer it gently. Let lead. If you need a sign that you can change, let this be one. If you need reassurance that your effort matters, let this be one. If you need permission to stop settling for what shrinks your spirit, let this be one. You're not too late. You're not too far. You're not too broken for growth. Growth is not asking you to be flawless. It is asking you to be willing, steady, and open to the next honest step today.